I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is the Doctor's Guide podcast, raw and unfiltered. And once again, hoping and maybe ensuring, or just very committed, let me put it that way, very committed to help you understand a better way to optimize your health. And why do we do that? Because in today's world, with so much information, it's really hard to figure out what's right for you on all levels of health and probably most other things in life. But this podcast is about health, and it is about curating, educating, and then guiding you to better decisions. And unlike all the other podcasts out there that are specifically promoting a product, or hyper promoting a person or service, we're not doing any of that. We're just captivating and capturing all the magic and the wisdom from other people out there that have something worthwhile for you. And what we're doing here is sharing a process by which they are navigating their own health challenges and being guided by somebody else to give you an insight or a sense of how you can do that as well. So how do we actually do that? We do that through role playing. And so with my amazing guests, every single time we've got these amazing people with their amazing stories that can absolutely relate to you, you can witness yourself in this whole situation with a problem and then the guidance, so that you then can realize that there is hope, there is clarity, there is a process, and there is a potential for success. But ultimately, it's still up to you. Because here's the thing that I've noticed in being a plastic and reconstructive surgeon for the last 25 years, and also very much involved in all aspects of medicine, health, and wellness, most people really abdicate all their decision-making responsibility to somebody else. And in today's world, we no longer have an excuse to be sick, and that's going to trigger some people. And in fact, this podcast is also designed and hopefully triggers you to realize that, yeah, this is the relevant truth. This is what's happening, and there's a way out, and I need to do the right things. So in this process, hopefully through the role playing, you'll witness yourself. And then after the role play, which we'll do for about 6 minutes, after each of my guests have introduced themselves, then we'll unpack that and help you with some very specific distinctions that they're going to share with you, myself included, by the way, and some very specific action steps that you can then take and potentially actually reach out to my guests so to help guide you in your journey. So I'm grateful for both Alan and Angie, and of course, the frequent flyer that we have so far, Dr. Cindy Starke, an amazing woman in so many aspects with a huge heart in wanting to support all people with some of their very specific challenges that she will mention for us. But once again, what I want to share with people is that you might get triggered in this, and that's okay, because that's your work to do, and understand that the stories or the role playing may be very personal to you, may be personal to the guests, but no judgment. Just find the relevant truth and how you can best navigate your health journey. So we'll start off with Dr. Cindy Starke, a brief intro of you. Then we'll go with Alan and Angie, and then we'll start the role play. Dr. Starke.
Thank you. My name is Cindy Starke, and I'm an internal medicine physician up here in Gainesville, Georgia. I've been practicing for about 30 years. And though I love my field and I love hospital medicine, I love taking care of patients in their most critical parts of their life when they're, faced with really scary decisions. Kind of as I've gotten older, and especially once my kids left for college, I realized that in my heart now, I really want to help people instead of just managing the really acute illnesses, to kind of get control over the power of their mindset. I always call it the matter between our ears. And so the second half of my life, I have become a transformational coach where I really help people rewire their subconscious mind for greatness and kind of uncover the champion within themselves and realize just how much power they have in their life.
I love what you're doing, Dr. Stark. Not only have you so much experience and wisdom within the field of conventional medicine, but you're also recognizing, and the reason for this podcast as well, is that there's a lot outside of conventional medicine that offers the solutions that we seek. And so as much as our colleagues, by the way, works diligent and are very hard and committed to the best possible medicine, it's not the only answer. We need to work together with whatever's outside or available outside of conventional medicine to get the best possible results. But I honor the amazing work and the amazing human being that you are. Alan and Angie, welcome to this platform. This is the first time that we have a couple doing this, so that's super cool. So please introduce yourselves just briefly for 1 minute, and then we'll jump into the role play.
Absolutely. We're Alan and Angie Thomas. We live on Amelia Island, Florida, just north of Jacksonville, and what we call Mayberry by the Sea down here. So, but we are coaches that work with men and women that struggle with weight, specifically obesity and overweight. And it started about 7 years ago when Angie and I stepped on the scale. Both Angie was at a weight she didn't want to see. I was at a weight that actually began with a 3. I found myself morbidly obese, and I'd failed at diets over and over again. And I developed a process that walked us both out of our weight challenge, where we dropped 192 pounds in 260 days together. And now, while it was never the intention, now we help men and women who swear they can't lose weight. They tell us over and over they've tried everything, and we do it without a diet or exercise plan. Do they have to change what they eat? 100%. Do they have to exercise? Well, some of our clients are not even healthy enough to exercise, and we've story after story after story where it's always possible. Just like Dr. Cindy was talking about, that space between the ears is what makes all the difference in the world. And so we're thrilled to be here.
Great.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And hope we'll hear a lot more about that afterwards. So I understand that Dr. Starke is presenting with a problem, and both you, Alan and Angie, will be the guide. And so we'll keep it tight, about 6 or 7 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So, as you might know, and you might not, I'm 54 years old, and I, for the first time, embarked on a health journey when I was 40 years old, because of how sick the patients were I was seeing, and I knew I didn't want to become a patient like what I was taking care of. And I I enrolled in something called Operation Boot Camp. And I was, long story short, I probably lost 25 pounds, got super buff. Like, we were working out at 5:30 in the morning every day, and completely changed the way I ate, 6 small meals a day. And then that kind of started, morphed kind of into this whole ultra triathlon kind of phase of my life, where I did a half marathon, then I did a half Ironman, then an Ironman, and things were great back then. That stopped at age 46. I did my Ironman triathlon, and I have not been able to consistently do anything ever since then. This has been 8 years. And I'm just going up 20 pounds, and then I'll go down 5, or, I'm always up at least 15 pounds. I'm still hiking, I can hike 23 miles in a weekend, but I'm just kind of developing this tire around my middle. And I just feel like I am not the pillar of health that I feel like I am on the inside. And I would love you to tell me maybe what I'm doing wrong, because I keep thinking the only way I'm going to get in shape again is to, count my macros and do another triathlon. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not willing to do that. So that's my
No,
problem.
and first, congratulations for doing all that stuff in that boot camp. That's amazing. So great job with that. And first thing I would ask you is, if you ran in, if the creator of the universe walked in to meet you and introduce you to the version of yourself that you were created to be at age 54, how far are you away from that weight? What does that lady weigh? How far are you from there? Is it 15 pounds?
I would say 15, and maybe even just 10.
That's fine. Okay. No wrong
But
answer.
10 is like 200 to me, because I can't get it off.
And I can appreciate that. But okay, so the target is 10 pounds. All right. So first of all, if you have children, right?
Yeah, 21 and 19.
Okay. So if their life were on the line, and the only way that you could get them back safe was to release, don't lose it, release it,
Yeah,
release 1 pound a week for the next 10 weeks, could you save your children's life?
of course.
Okay. So what's stopping you from saving yours?
Hmm. Hmm. I I have this habit. I think it's just a habit, is
Mhm.
that in my life whenever things are hard, whether it's a hard day at the hospital, I pronounce a patient's death that I didn't expect to lose that night, or problems with my kids, my daughter's crying and depressed, or problem with my ex-husband. I love things like bubble tea and red wine and ice cream. And I kind of do that at night here in my house by myself. And sometimes I'll do it like 5 times a week. And I think that's my problem. I think that's what's keeping it from happening. And sometimes when I go out to eat, like as if a hamburger is not enough, then I'll get French fries. And if a French fries isn't enough, then I'll get feta cheese dip or truffle mayo. And it's out of control. I'm rewarding myself for any pain I'm feeling enduring in my life with food.
So my curiosity is why now? Why, I mean, why would you want to drop the 10 pounds, release the 10 pounds now? Why would it be important to you?
Well, I would say two reasons. Number one, about 3 times a year, I go and babysit my 4 great nephews. They're under 5 years old,
Mhm.
and they're very, very active. They're my sister's grandkids. And I just know that that grandma version of me is right around the corner. And I want to be able to get on the ground, and not that I can't get on the ground and wrestle with them. Like I said, I'm hiking. I'm a very active person, but so it's something between having these 4 great nephews, and then also I don't feel like the outside of my body matches how excuse my language, but like this badass version of myself that I feel like I am on the inside. I don't think the outside matches that, and so I'm finding I don't wear like as powerful clothes or look as good in them. But then the other thing is just seeing, to be honest with you, I think the third and final thing that's probably the worst or the heaviest thing on me is that I'm watching my mom age, and I'm built a lot like her, and she's 78, and she's just really struggling with mobility issues and arthritis, and I just think it's all related. It's all an inflammatory American diet, and none of those French fries and truffle mayo and ice cream and red wine are getting me any closer to my goals, and I know that.
So if you want the 10, okay, so I want you just to close your eyes for a minute. Close your eyes, and I want you to imagine the day that you step on the scale. Imagine in that number, pick that number, and the number's not important, but the number is important because it matches up to what's going on with your waistline. It matches up with what's going on with your confidence. It matches up with all these different things. And I want you to describe to me and Angie who are you going to call? You step on the scale, you go to your bathroom, and it's the same, and it's that scale that you stepped on 10,000 times before, maybe. But today's the day you step on it, and that number, you didn't hit it. You went a half pound, you're a half pound under it. So first of all, describe what that emotion is. What does that feel like?
Do I
You
need
step,
to keep my eyes closed?
you keep your eyes closed and just describe it. I
Okay.
want you to see yourself there.
Well, I'm in disbelief because I haven't been here since age 40. So I can't believe at age 54 I'm there again. And um, it I it's very exciting. It's extremely exciting, and it's just shocking and disbelief. Those are the top 3 emotions I'm
But
feeling.
but you have to believe it. It's there in black and white. It's right there on the screen of your scale. The scale's right. I mean, there you've done it. So
Yeah.
who's your first phone call?
Who's my what?
Who's your first phone call? I mean, you did the unthinkable. You dropped the 10 pounds that's impossible to lose, that you can't lose, and you did it. So who's your first phone call?
Probably my mom, because she knows more than anything what I'm going through. Because she always says it's called the Battle of a Bulge for a reason, because it's supposed to be hard.
But hang on, stay with me on that. You beat it. So you're there, and tell me what that emotion feels like when you're talking to your mom. When you're talking to your mom, and your mom is saying, what do you think she's going to say?
Well, she's going to tell me she's proud of me. I'm going to say I can't believe I did it, but I did it because there's the number right there. And I'm going to know that it took some consistency, and I believed in myself, and I stopped sabotaging myself by saying it was impossible and then making my actions meet up with my what I see on the scale.
So
So
what?
it's just a lot of pride.
So it's a pride. Okay. So I want you to, and you can open your eyes now. So anchor that number one. That's what you want. And the hardest thing about weight is that we tell ourselves that we want to lose some weight. So you got really specific and you got really clear with the 10 pounds. So that's number one. The next thing is I got some bad news for you. You're going to have to do the work. There is no magic pill. The magic pills that are being prescribed out there, as y'all well know, are side effects and a million things. As physicians, you already know this, so I'm not giving you any information. But what you measure gets managed. So what I want you to do, would you be willing to, in order to have that feeling that you just described, in order to be able to get on the floor with them, in order to have that, I'm not talking about the number, but in order to have those things, would you be willing to track everything? I'm not talking about tracking just calories. I want you to track macros too. I want you to track it all. Would you be willing to do that till you got there so that you could become an expert on somebody that you've never become this expert on, which is yourself?
Yes, as long as you're not going to tell me to do it for the rest of my life, because I
I
find that
didn't.
very tedious and boring.
But would you be willing to do it tomorrow?
Yeah. I actually weigh
Okay.
myself every day and I have it all written in my closet. Like
But
I
but you
really do
you're
it.
but would you
I'll
be
do it.
willing to put the input with it as well? So you put the input, so because it maybe calorically is it works for you, maybe it's the macros that are going to work for you. One of our secrets to what we do is we put all the emphasis on you. You need to be the expert on yourself. So number one, would you be willing to get attached to that emotion of that feeling at least twice a day, every day?
Yeah.
Every day. And what you just told us, would you be willing to put it in writing and think about those things every day until you reach that so that it was front and center for you every day?
That's what I did when I did my triathlon. So yes.
And
Yes.
so this is not new. And
You
and
got a
would you
minute left, guys.
and would you be willing to set a time frame? What if your children's life were on the line? How quickly could you get the 10 pounds off safely? And I'm not talking about doing crazy stuff. You don't have to stop eating, but how quickly would you be willing to do it?
How about March 20th?
Okay, would you be willing to write that down and to send that to your mother and tell her you're going to be calling her on March 20th with your weight? Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So all you did was got really clear, just like a business goal, and you did something that you already know how to do, and you got accountability that you haven't had, and then now when the wine comes, you're going to remember that March 20th is the day. Nothing wrong with the wine. I love wine too. I mean, nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, there is no easy way except to change what you're willing to tolerate.
Okay.
So that was quick,
Awesome.
but
Yeah, that's good. All right.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'd like to start off with Cindy. So great job, guys. Thank you so much. So Cindy, what was that all about for you? Just
Well,
briefly.
he kind of like did a gut punch when he asked me. I can't even remember what the question was, but I just remember how it like landed on me when he said, maybe what's stopping you? What's stopping you? And it made me realize that I'm rewarding myself with these very high calorie kind of empty, what are those things called? Empty calories, foods. And I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just thinking of loving on myself. So it was
Okay.
very eye-opening.
Awesome. We'll circle back to that. And just briefly, Alan, what was that all about for you? Just give us some context.
well, I mean, it's the biggest context for it is that Cindy was willing to. It was interesting. She said she wanted to lose 15 pounds, but when I asked her what she was created to be at her present age, it's amazing. You don't have to be a physician to figure this one out. And she brought it down to 10 pounds, and it wasn't to minimize it. It's just she's 10 pounds away from her dream, and then we just connected it, and she's got the tools to do it. It doesn't mean she's never going to have another glass of wine as long as she lives, but just for a short period of time she can create habits that will live with her for the rest of her life. But you can't. It's no different than a business. It's no different than your medical practices. If you ignore your money, it will go away. And I'm sure doctors say this, if you ignore your health, it will go away too.
Right. Well, we'll circle back to that. Angie, did you want to add anything? Just
unfortunately, it's something that is with us for the rest of our life. You may not have to track it daily, Cindy, but you'll learn. You learn those tools and what works and what doesn't.
Right. So we're going to unpack that a lot more. So first of all, I really failed to acknowledge both you, Alan, and Angie, because the work that you do is amazing as well. And who better as a mentor, as a guide, someone that has experienced it as well. And because way too often people will tell doctors, well, I can't do this and it's not possible and everything else. And you're a testament of what's true and what's possible. And there's no stronger power than that. So I really want to acknowledge you and the work and the dedication. Same thing when I coach doctors, it's great because they can't pull the wool over my head because I'm a doctor too. And it really matters because what you bring up is really some of these micro distinctions that we are being held accountable to, and just having to face that and being accountable to somebody else who's doing that in a loving manner and is also holding you to your word, because we will do much more for other people than we will do for ourselves. And I recently saw a Facebook post, you do anything, to save your kids, but you do nothing for your own health or to save yourself. And so much is true, because the reality is that we are very complex people. And I think Cindy is probably the most complex person I've ever met. No, I'm just kidding. She's a doctor, so there you go. But the truth is that all these thoughts and beliefs and limitations and emotions, they just show up every single freaking day. And unless you've got that clarity, which you just so eloquently did, Alan, it's going to be tough, because there's this phrase that, willpower is not indefinite. And so there's only a limited amount of willpower that you have available. And so if you're not sleeping well, you're exhausted and everything else. And so what's really more powerful is having that commitment to do something, having that pre-frame, having that clarity. And that's so much more powerful. And so there. So with that, I hand over the mic to you guys. We only have about 6 minutes to unpack. But what say you, Alan and Angie, in regards to this complex situation? Because the truth is that over 60% of the people in the United States, and it's probably more, are absolutely overweight, and probably 30% are obese.
Yeah, it's crazy. The obesity numbers worldwide have crossed 918 million worldwide now, and going up by about 90,000 a day. So it's what's sad about it is that the weight loss industry has gotten caught so much in products and magic pills, because that's what people want to hear. And it really is unfortunate, because within everybody, I mean, I think about one of our clients who, and Cindy's heard me talk about this individual. He's 72 years old. He's a heart attack survivor. He's got congestive heart failure. He walks with a walker because of fused vertebrae, so exercise is off the table. And when he came to us, he was 388 pounds. But I knew from some things he told me that we could absolutely help him. And it was interesting how the other day he reported his lowest weight since 1978. He's down to 235 and still going. And it was never the diet that made the difference. He had to change what he ate. But if I'd have told him, and this is where dieters go, if you tell me that I've got to eat celery, I'll never eat it again. If you tell me because we're framed, especially as Americans, we're framed to where we want to argue with authority. So when somebody has to take responsibility for it, there's always a way, every time. And it's interesting to watch these journeys unfold, because when they look at it from the perspective of what they really, 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 really want and what they've been missing out on, it's like it's a magic. That's the magic pill, and it's the pill they have between their ears, like Cindy was saying earlier. It is, and it's not. Is it easy? No, it's not. I wish it were. I wish I had better news for people. But at the end of the day, it's this muscle that they build, because just using that one person as an example, and I give you countless stories, not because these individuals had it all along within them. They just reset, they recalibrated, and they were able to change everything about their life and live. I mean, statistically, if you do the numbers, the life expectancy drops, and I've played with these. I haven't found the exact studies, but it drops about 40. I think it's roughly 40 something months per pound. It was some crazy number. When you look at so we're giving our lives away for our next Cheetos, our next bag of Doritos. It's not you don't have to. People always come to the same conclusion. It's a math equation, but everybody has their own math equation. And then when they find that, then they don't have to count everything forever. They don't have to do all that work because you know it. It becomes inherent. So it's fun to see, because we have a saying, it's not a diet, it's a decision. When they cut off all possibility of anything else but winning, they find that they'll come out of, like we had somebody come out of a wheelchair, drop 200 plus pounds, come out of a wheelchair. And I mean, we didn't do that for him. He did it himself. We've seen it over and over repeat itself. And it's just fun because our world is being held hostage by the next bite of pizza. And I love pizza as good as anybody, but it's being held hostage by something that's 100% controllable. Because if y'all can show me a study where there's a way to gain weight other than overeating, I don't believe there's a way to do it, except I guess with water retention from congestive heart disease or something like
Well,
that.
one thing
But
I need to add here too, and I think this is critical, and because we get all caught up in all these gimmicks out there, as you mentioned, and all these
Yeah.
diet programs, and what we're finding now that there's a lot more to this whole weight loss process than just a freaking diet. And so it does start off with the mindset, which is critical. Willpower is not indefinite, and so don't rely on willpower to not eat the Cheetos or go for the pizza. But strict habits is really important, and really avoiding, having the pizza in the neighborhood in the first place. And so that's where with your partners or your family, you have to make sure that they don't have all these goodies in the house. That's sometimes my problem in my house. But I'm not winning that battle for now, so I have to rely on other things. But here's the other relevant truth that I want the listeners to know is that, even just checking your DNA, getting a DNA profile really helps. Also understanding that some lab work with your macrobiome, or microbiome, I should say, is also relevant. And so, getting the different pieces and stack them up together, starting off with your mindset, checking your DNA, checking your microbiome, then the chances of success are super high. But what Alan is saying is so critically important. I mean, are you really trading the magic of maybe seeing, your grandchildren get married, walking them down the altar just for another bag of Cheetos? And here's the other relevant truth, and I'm not knocking this, but these corporations, they put so much research in all these foods that it's not possible just to eat one chip. I mean, it's true. And so we get addicted to these things. And so there's a lot of marketing that goes behind all of that is stacked against you. What say you, Alan?
No, and one thing to piggyback on what you're saying, I mean, Big Pharma doesn't want you getting done for good. Big Pharma doesn't. I mean, they don't. Big Pharma doesn't want, the food industry doesn't, the diet industry doesn't want you getting thin for good. They want you coming back for more. And so, I mean, if you look at just take Coca-Cola, for example, look at what's sold in the United States and Coca-Cola compared, it's illegal to sell it in other countries, in many other countries. So we're putting things in our food here. So it's like pulling away from the gravitational pull of the earth. You have to find a way to pull away from that gravitational pull of the red wine, and nothing wrong with red wine. I love it myself. Had some the other night. But the point I'm making is you have to find something bigger than that for that short burst of energy to get you out of the gravitational pull of the habit of being the 10 pounds, because the 10 will turn to 15 and the 15 will turn into 20 and so forth.
Yeah, it's been 20 before.
Yeah. Well, I think we could talk for hours, but I think our time is up. I'm going to give some last word to Dr. Stark. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I mean, I guess it was really a question as we're sitting here talking. I'm just wondering, I mean, there are some occasions, and I guess you just prioritize which one is important. When I am going to want a little bit of ice cream, or I am going to want to celebrate my daughter, she's about to graduate college in 4 months. And I think that if I could just get the portions smaller, I could enjoy whatever I wanted to have. Because I don't like to say no to a lot of things. I'm a little bit of a rebel like that. But I do remember when I used to be in those really like doing a lot of fitness activities in a week, I could eat all that stuff and it wouldn't matter because I think my, metabolic rate was up so high. But I just think it's unfortunate how it really does seem like it's stacked against us, but I'm really glad that y'all are here so that you can show people a better way, because
Right.
I, for one, would love people not to be in the ER all the time, as sick as they are. And a lot of it starts with
No,
obesity.
indeed, but and we need to wrap it up. So
Yeah.
here's the thing, it's what are you saying no to? And just to add on to what Dr. Stark is really saying, it's also not saying no to hang out in a high quality of life in your elder years and being able to play with your grandchildren. You're not saying no to that. You're saying yes to that and no to the ice cream. Very quickly, Dr. Stark, how do people find you?
I am on the internet at www.drsindystark.com.
Awesome. Alan and Angie, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, actually, we created a special link for this show. If they go to transformmyfuture.com/doctor's guide, DOCTORS guide, they can watch this training. It's totally free training that Angie and I do that walks through the 5 steps that Angie and I use to lose 192 pounds in 260 days. And nothing to buy on it. It's just totally to serve them, and ways they can get in there. But to go to transformmyfuture.com/doctor's guide.
Awesome. That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you for doing that. And for sure, overweight is a serious problem. It's a serious medical problem. We spend 1/5 of our GDP, which is $4 trillion. Actually, I don't know what it is now, by the way, if it's 1/5 or not. I think our debt is increasing, but we're spending over $4 trillion every single year on health, 90% of which is spent on chronic health and mental health issues. We rank last with many other industrial countries in regards to the quality of health and the delivery of health, and we spend twice as much as anyone else. So these are predictable and preventable things. Certainly weight, it doesn't serve you to be overweight. If you want to be triggered, that's okay. But the truth is that you deserve a better quality of life, and it's with a lot less weight. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker. This is the Doctor's Guide podcast, raw and unfiltered, hopefully not too raw for you. And we will be back.